Welcome to Real Talk with Dr. David Anderson, seasoned expert in building bridges of reconciliation around the world. Race, religion, relationships. Please welcome Dr. David Anderson.
Thanks for tuning in to Real Talk with Dr. David Anderson. Comprehension begins with conversation, and so I always like to set a table of conversation to learn from one another. And today's episode, you're going to love it because we're going to be talking to a few men in a barbershop about women. So you want to make sure to catch that, as well as a few conversations that I'm going to be having with my radio audience. I host a radio show throughout the week in the nation's capital, Virginia, Baltimore, all throughout this area. And so it's going to be a wonderful conversation, and we're just about to get started now. So come on, let's go. Real Talk with Dr. David Anderson.
What do you need to be new in your marriage this year? Prior to the break, I was talking to Lisa from Bowie, Maryland. I've got Lisa back on the line. And Lisa, we were talking about you and your spouse and him not being necessarily communicative. And, you know, he holds some resentment and some hurt maybe from some of the conversations and things that you have done and things of that sort. But how do you get him to talk? That's the big question right now, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. When it comes to non-talkers, it's not that they don't talk. It's that they have to be in a certain space where they feel like talking, and that space has to be a safe space. So the question you have to ask yourself as a wife is, what safe spaces can I create where he will be relaxed? Okay? I know one woman, she knows that her husband is most relaxed when he is smoking a cigar. And so what did she do? She started smoking a cigar with him, and they chat every so often because of that hour-long, engagement that they have. Now, it could be smooth jazz music that he listens to after work, or it could be, something else. I don't know what creates a safe, relaxed environment for him. But I tell you, if you can identify that and get to that space, he will talk. Now, you don't bring up anything. You just allow the talk to happen, and then you move into things. You may have it in the back of your mind, but it's not like you want to say, hey, let's get relaxed so we could have a talk. He will never be relaxed. It's never relaxing when you say, I want to have a talk. Never relaxing. But if you can get to a space where you relax. I know another couple, the only time they talk and the best conversations they have is when they go out to eat. I mean, he can hardly get his wife to ever talk, but when he takes her out to eat, for some reason, she sings like a bird.
Okay.
So every couple is different. Do you have in your mind one or two things that put him in that relaxed state?
Yes, sir. Usually when I cook for him and make the meal for him and serve it to him, that's usually when he's relaxed. It's like, oh, okay, this is nice, because everything is about the family. It's never just like for him. So when I do, every now and then I'll cook for him, just for him, something that he likes, and I'll get the kids, fast food or something, and cook something just for him, and he loves that.
He loves that.
But he doesn't talk to me. It's like I'm sitting there and I'm watching him eat my food. I'm going, are you okay? Is everything okay?
Wow.
Everything is wonderful. He's a wonderful person. He's one of those. Everything is wonderful, but it's not. So I don't know. I got my triple threat.
Okay.
It's just that last one. The acceptance. I know what I've done. Just listening to your caller, I know what I've done. I just am so afraid about bringing it up to him in his, relaxed state and saying, hey, I'm sorry for, saying this or that or whatever.
Are you afraid of the way he's going to respond when you bring the topic up?
Yes, sir.
And what are you fearing his response?
Send him into a shelter. My fear is that he's going to clam up even further. Like he's going to well, it was no big deal. When I know it was a big deal.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Well, you know what? You may have to do like what I said to the other caller, and that is I told him he had to step up and do some things, realizing that it's not going to make things better right away. It'll make things worse for a minute, but then when you come out the other side, it'll be better. For you, I think that you do have to ask him specifically about whatever the particular situation is when you get to an environment where you can do that and have that conversation, knowing that he's going to go inside like a turtle for a while. But if you don't do it, okay, then you're always going to, it's always going to be on the surface, and you're never going to be able to deal with it. So let him go into that shelter, but then once he comes out of that shelter, it will have been something that he dealt with, you dealt with. Now you're going to be able to move on.
Okay, so I can't apologize. It's okay to, apologize. I can say in acceptance mode in the third stage that you want me to work on. I can come to him in a safe place and apologize.
You can apologize. That's right.
Even if he goes into a turtle. Okay.
Even if he goes into a turtle, because the head got to come out sometime, but sometimes introverts got to go inside themselves to deal with all their emotions, then they come out. But it's better than him not going inside and keeping his head out like everything's okay, and then y'all never get to the next level. So it's better to go ahead and once you get to that safe place, let him go ahead and deal with that, and then when he comes out, you'll be present and ready to move to the next level with him.
Okay, thank you so much. This really helps. It's 3 short things, but it really helps.
Hey, I'm so glad. Hopefully it'll not only help you, Lisa, but it'll help others that are listening. So thanks for hanging out with me today, okay?
All right, take care, sir.
Blessings to you.
Dr. Anderson would love for you to join his brand new public figure Facebook page. Just search Dr. David Anderson on Facebook, and when you see his smiling face, click like. That's another great way for you to connect and follow the good doc.
All right, so I'm in Christopher's barber studio, and we're getting our hairs cut, but we're talking about women today. This is a male talk kind of conversation. And I asked a bunch of ladies, send me your questions. If you knew that some men were getting together in the barbershop, we're going to talk about women, what questions would you have for the men? So I'm going to throw some questions from the ladies your way, and we're also going to talk about what it means to be a man. And how are we supposed to relate to women? Because all of us got women in our life, whether we're married to them, whether they're our mothers, whether they're our aunts, or whether we're dating them, or whatever it is. I'm sure we've all had some drama with the ladies. They don't always understand us. We don't always understand them. But that's why we have to have conversation, because like I've always said, comprehension begins with conversation. And by the way, as we get our hair cut, let's just go ahead and kick it off with question number 1. This is a nice one. What do men, or why do men emotionally pull away sometimes? What is something that men would like women to understand about them? Let's go with that first question. Why do men emotionally pull away sometimes? What do you think about that?
I think when men pull away emotionally, if you want to call it that, it's a fear or an anxiety about being vulnerable. You get that intimacy sometimes, and not necessarily just physical intimacy, but emotional intimacy. You realize you put yourself out there.
So you're saying you don't want to be vulnerable in the moment?
Well, it's not so much that you don't want to be, it's just that once you realize you are, and you have been, your instinct sometimes is to kind of shrink back and go, okay, I put myself out there. Right. I don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
So let me kind of hang back a little bit.
So do we shut down, David?
Well, I think there's a danger of being rejected, and the more you open up, the deeper that rejection hurts, right? So if there's conflict and you really open up and you get vulnerable, like you were saying, Tony, and then there's pushback or there's deeper conflict that comes out of that, and you feel like she's pulling away, man, that rejection hurts so bad. So I think there's some protection in that.
All right, Christopher, you own this shop. Ladies come in here too, but men, we talk. We don't shut down on one another. Do you ever shut down on your wife?
Sometimes I do.
Why?
Sometimes I do. Could be for a number of reasons. Sometimes I'm just not in the mood to talk. You know, sometimes I feel like she might not understand, you know, what we go through. I mean, as men, we handle things different from women, and you know, we're not always as outspoken as women. Women tend to express themselves better than men. Express herself better than me sometimes. Anyway, my wife she can get into it, and she could be a lawyer, I tell you.
Sure.
And I think a lot of women process verbally. They talk it out. They just want to talk it out, talk it out.
So it's not that we're shutting down, it's that we're processing differently.
A lot of times, just differently. We're thinking about it, you know, whether we feel like we've been exposed or we're vulnerable, or we're feeling something, we feel some kind of way. Right. We're going to process that internally before we start speaking it out.
So what about you guys in the wings? What do you think about this? What about you, Mitchell? You ever shut down on women, or do you handle things a little differently?
I think Tony makes a good point. It's not necessarily shutting down. It's taking that time to gather your thoughts. The more mature I get, the older I get, I realize I need to double think before I speak. And that may come across to a girlfriend or to somebody that's waiting for an answer to a specific situation as me procrastinating or me not caring. But really, I'm just gathering my thoughts. So it's being able to communicate that, hey, I need some time.
Right.
Hey, I need to get myself together and realize what I want to say before I say it. It's communicating that effectively while that time is kind of in the gray area of not responding to the actual question.
Yeah, don't we need cave time, AC?
Absolutely. In fact, it is a tendency of men by design that when we process, we go inside. And oftentimes women don't get that. They don't understand that. It's not a matter that we won't eventually be willing to talk about it.
Right.
But at least while we're processing it, while we're sort of meditating on it and considering how we want to approach the deal. I mean, we do this in the workplace. We do this in all sorts of areas in our life where our tendency is to go inside first.
Interesting. Here's what another lady asked. I want to get your honesty on this. She says, what is the trait you find most attractive in a woman? And is it the same answer you would have given 10 or 20 years ago? What is the trait you find most attractive? Most attractive.
Visual trait or unseen?
You tell us. Okay. What's the most...
Come on, Dave, you tell us.
Come on, David. The most attractive trait.
Go Whoa.
If that makes you feel better, yeah, sure.
All right, so let's start with well, I'm a killer for a smile. Man, it gets me every time. Like when Julie flashes me like that intense smile. Man, that gets me every time.
Okay, but that's great because Julie has a smile, but there's a billion other women that got a smile too.
Yeah, you gotta watch out for that.
Men are very visual, right? And so when you talk about the stare, you're talking about her nice eyes, you're talking about her nice smile. Nobody mentioned anything about their thighs, their body. So let me just be real. Are we saying that the way her body is, it doesn't attract you at all? So she can be really, really fat and have a great smile, or she can be really, really skinny as long as she has a nice stare. I mean, as long as she has loving qualities, we're all good. This is real talk, so I just need to know because they're watching. So help me out here.
Keeping it real, yes, the visual is important, and I have to. More than likely, I'm going to be physically attracted to you before I'm emotionally attracted or mentally attracted or spiritually attracted. I'm going to see something about you that I like.
Okay.
Whether it's up top or down bottom. Something is going to draw me to you. But intrinsically, the unseen stuff, I know for me, a woman who's good at what she does, who's talented at whatever it is, whether it's in the office or on stage or whatever, when she's doing what it would appear anyway, she's doing what she was made to do, that gets me every time.
Least attractive feature. Least attractive.
Sloppy.
Loud.
Insecurity.
Critical.
Loud. Sloppy.
Smoker.
Critical.
A critical person.
Yeah.
A smoker. Uh-huh.
Insecure.
Insecure. Ladies, are you getting it? I'm just saying. Okay, come on. Anything else? Least attractive about a woman. So you don't mind her talking?
She doesn't trust you. If you've given her nothing if you haven't given her a reason not to trust you,
right,
and she doesn't give you that trust, if she's hesitant off the bat to not give you trust.
So you need her trust, and you need her not to be insecure. You need her not to be loud for you, right? Everybody has a different, sort of a different thing. Sloppiness. Mm-hmm. It's interesting because one lady.
Sloppy, I don't just mean you're disorganized, but like women who don't take care of themselves. Women who go out in public just sloppy and not put together. A woman who's well put together when she goes out in public, whether she's going to work or she's going to the grocery store, that turns my head.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not necessarily a lustful thing. It's just like, I appreciate that you took the time to do your hair, do your nails, maybe put a little makeup on, not wear, sweats or whatever. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that because you run out and run errands or whatever. But
you covered yourself there. But I get it, yeah.
Right? But there's some people that they don't care what they look like when they go out.
Sure. And do you think that that's more, be honest here, do you think that that's more married women or single women that don't care what they look like when they go out?
Probably married women. Most likely, that would be my guess. I mean, I don't have any empirical evidence to prove it, but I would think that married women are like, I got nothing to prove.
For those of you who are married, how many of you want your woman to be looking good when she goes out in public? Mr. Mock, would you agree?
Yes.
You even want, you want your wife to look good, right? How she's just going to the supermarket? If she's going to the store, you still want her to look good when she's going to the store, right?
I like how she look good. Yeah, right? All the way. If you work out of the house, must look good.
Right. Must look good. Must look. I like it. That's it. Must look good. Wow. All right. What about cleanliness? One woman asked this question. I think it's a good question. Why is it so hard to put dirty clothes in the hamper and to hang up a wet towel? And then she wants to know if you could choose this. Okay. If you could choose it, check it out. Have a woman that cooks you a nice meal, but the house is a disaster, or would you prefer a woman who keeps a tidy house, but no dinner made?
Tidy house.
Tidy house, no dinner?
Every time.
Noel, tidy house, no dinner, or dinner and messy house?
Tiny house.
Wow, what'd you say?
Tidy house.
Get out of here.
We don't care.
Dinner.
Every time.
Okay.
I need
Dinner. I know you want both.
I need both because I say I need both because I know I work hard all day long.
Right.
I'm on my feet, you know, sometimes 10, 12 hours a day, and it's not good to come home after a hard day's work and your food not, you don't have no food on the table.
Right.
And it's even worse if the house is a mess.
So we want a house that's not a mess. We want food on the table. We want you to look good when you go out. Okay, I'm just saying, it's real talk. Whether it's right or wrong, ladies who are watching us today, it's real talk. You want to know what's going on in the shop, what men want. Sex.
Uh-oh. I gotta go.
Yes.
It's been answered. Okay. So it's been said that every man wants a woman in the street, but a freak in the bed, if I can use that terminology. All right, so in other words, you want a wife that's fully alive sexually in the house, but you want her to be a woman in the streets.
A lady.
A lady, right? And then the reverse is true for a lot of ladies, right? They maybe a freak out in the street and looking all sexy and stuff, but then when they get home with their husbands, they're not, given any kind of warmth and affection or sexiness. It's like they take off the short skirt that they're wearing in the street and then they put on this big old robe when they get home. So let me ask you, do you feel like that's a problem, or do you feel like it's all good? Let me just leave it right there based on the interpretation of what this woman's asking. Because again, they want to know, what do you want?
I think it depends the guy that you're dealing with for this woman. Every guy, I think, wants that girl that when he goes out, she draws attention. It kind of builds his ego, pumps his chest a little bit, but I think there's a fine line to where that becomes an insecurity for the man. So it depends on how confident he is in himself.
Okay.
To where it depends on how far she can go with that.
One woman asked me, what is sexy? So as we're talking about the way a woman dresses, whether she's in the house or outside the house, what is sexy? What do you think, Tim? What's sexy?
What's sexy?
They want to know.
A well-dressed woman who prepares herself, takes a shower.
So she got to be clean.
Clean
and sexy.
Can't be smelling the funk. And yeah.
Okay. What's sexy?
As I get older, I realize sexy is less about what you wear. It's really more about the confidence you have. I've seen women that are, I hate to rate women on a scale of 1 to 10. They might be like a 5 or a 6, physically speaking, but their confidence makes them a 7, 8, 9.
Very nice.
And I've seen women that are, 8s and 9s, maybe 10s, but because of the way they dress, they flaunt it, they're immodest or whatever, it's a turnoff. Oddly and ironically, as visual as we are, it becomes a turnoff.
If they try to be too sexy and reveal too much.
Too revealing, it's not to say that it doesn't look good, there's a difference between looking good and looking sexy or being sexy.
David, what do you think? Sexy.
Sexy, I think, well, a woman needs to know what she can be confident about in the way she looks, right? So she knows herself, she knows her attributes that are worth showing off.
So in a sense, what makes her feel sexy is important.
Yeah, definitely.
Because if she doesn't feel good about what she's wearing, even if we say, but that looks sexy on you, she's not gonna have that confidence.
Because she'll carry herself differently. Definitely.
Yeah. Sexiness is like, for me, it's a mix between classiness and confidence, like you said. You can't show too much, because if you show too much and you're my woman, then it somehow doesn't make me feel too good.
And it seems needy sometimes too. If somebody's showing too much and they're really looking for that attention.
But if you show enough where you still look good, but there's still a classiness and an appropriateness about it, it makes me feel good. Because like all of you said, you want your woman to look good. You know? We've been having this conversation at Christopher's Barber Studio in Elkridge, Maryland, and we've been talking among ourselves about women. We've been answering a bunch of questions that have come in about women. You know, at the end of the day, ladies, it's about the 3 F's when it comes to your man, right? Follow him, feed him, and forgive him. Yeah, there you go. Now, listen. There's a whole lot more you can get on Real Talk with Dr. David Anderson, but let me just also say, we heard a lot today in the shop. We heard it from the guys that are waiting to get a cut. We heard it from the guys that are getting a cut. We like you to look good when you go out there. We want you to keep things a little bit tidy. This is what the guys are saying. You can come up with whether you agree or not with that. And also, they don't want you to, be in their face all the time. They actually might need some cave time to get away. But we as men need to learn how to communicate that we need that time away. We talked about what is sexy. We talked about cleanliness. There's a lot we talked about. There's a lot more talk to happen. Make sure you tune in next week to Real Talk with Dr. David Anderson.
Gracism, The Art of Inclusion is Dr. David Anderson's award-winning book on doing life together in a multicultural world, extending grace to others in spite of, or even because of, color, class, or culture. For Gracism, as well as other resources from Dr. Anderson, go to andersonspeaks.com. Gracism, The Art of Inclusion. Get your copy today.
Karen on the road in Maryland is on the line. Hey, Karen, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Oh, I'm alive and grateful. Thanks for hanging with me. What are you thinking?
That's great. Well, I have a relationship question for you.
Okay.
I'm in a relationship with a wonderful Christian man. We've been together for 3 years. We're both divorced. We're older. Our kids are grown, but we struggle with the intimacy issue. So we're both strong Christians, but we know that that's not pleasing to God.
Okay.
We have plans to get married maybe in about 2 years. I have a son who's still in junior high, and we want to wait till he gets out of high school before you get married. So he asked me to move in with him, and I said, you have to marry me first. And, so we take it so far, and then, we are intimate, but we know that we really struggle with that because we are strong in our faith. So
sure.
What do we do?
Well, thank you for being so open with me. Is there any reason now why he wouldn't want to marry you or you wouldn't want to marry him?
It's just that, we live a half hour away, and I can't leave where I'm living because my son is still in high school. And, and his son just got married. Now his daughter just got engaged. So he's got some family things that he's focused on right now before he thinks about, moving on with our relationship. So, the kids
it's a timing thing. Yeah.
How
long before you guys would actually practically be able to get married?
Well, I'm hoping next year, but it might be 2 years because now his daughter just got engaged on Monday. So
got it. Right. So you're dealing with a long-term problem. The answer is keep struggling. That's really the answer. Keep struggling. Yeah. You can have victory over it. You got to have some wisdom and not put yourself in certain situations, but because you're older and you know what all this is about and what it's like, and even you're walking with the Lord, it's real easy to just kind of put yourself in that situation. And so the best thing you can do is maybe get a couple sisters around you who can help pray you through. He gets a guy or two that help pray him through. But the honest truth is you're going to just keep struggling, keep fighting, keep trying to get it right. When you get it wrong, be repentant before God. But, that's the reality. Doesn't mean you can't have victory over it, but if this is the man you're going to be with, you know what it's like to be married. He knows what it's like to be married, and you guys want to be married one day. Keep struggling at it, but don't become cold because you don't want to become hot. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, because that's sometimes what women will do, or sometimes what guys will do, is because they don't want to fall, they actually become non-affectionate and cold, and then you end up losing that person because you weren't willing to live in the tension. So I'd much rather tell you, live in the tension. You may fail here or there. I'm not giving permission or license in case anybody's hearing me now, but it's a whole lot better to try to struggle your way, pray your way through it, and let it be your testimony as you marry this man into the future, than to become cold, cut it off, and then not have anyone in the future simply because this was an area of passion for you. So that's my 2 cents on it. Okay. I hope that helps you. All right, Karen.
It does.
Good. Well, I'm a pastor, friends. I know you expect me to drop the hammer on this one. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying it's real. Real talk with Dr. David Anderson. Come on, let's say a word of prayer. Dear Lord, I pray for a victory in my sister's life, and for those who are struggling in any area, would you walk with them in the struggle, reveal yourself in the struggle, that they might be with you and you might be with them. It's in your name we pray. Together, everyone said, amen and amen.
Well, I told you it was going to be a good show, right? Well, listen, this is just the beginning of it. Next week, we're going to talk to the women. I'm going to a beauty salon. We're going to talk to the ladies about what the guys want to know about. So make sure you don't miss next week. But today we learned some things. We learned what men want, what they think about. We learned about even how to connect with men when they're not very talkative. Hey, listen, if you have a real talk question for me, give me a phone call this week on my radio show. Give me a call right now, or send me an email or a text, or hit me on social media. I can't wait to talk to you about the questions that we all long to get answers for. Remember, I can't answer everything, but I know the one who has all the answers, so let's go to him as well. Hey, thanks a lot for tuning in. Make sure you come back next week. Real Talk with Dr. David Anderson.
Real Talk with Dr. David Anderson, a production of Anderson Speaks. For more information and resources, visit andersonspeaks.com. Dr. Anderson would love for you to join his brand new public figure Facebook page. Just search Dr. David Anderson on Facebook, and when you see his smiling face, click like. That's another great way for you to connect and follow the good doc.